Barca has finally decided to sign a right winger.
Roony Bardghji to Barcelona. Here we go.
It only took Lamine Yamal playing over 4,500 minutes last season for Deco and Flick to realise, okay, we need a proper backup so Lamine can rest once in a while. And the player they brought in, a young Swedish right winger with a nose for goal, great dribbling, full of flair, compared to Hazard and even Mohamed Salah. Oh, and his name is Roony, in honour of Wayne Rooney.
Another cross in. Roony Bardghji! It's the teenager.
So, who exactly is Roony Bardghji? And why is there so much excitement around him? Many are probably asking, why would Barca sign a right winger when they already have Lamine Yamal owning that side? And why someone coming from FC Copenhagen, a club far from the bright lights of elite football? Well, what most people don't realise is that sometimes gold is found when no one's looking. And Roony Bardghji is one of those hidden gems that Barca decided to polish before anyone else. First off, FC Copenhagen isn't just any team. In the past 4 years, they've won the Danish Superliga 3 times and lifted the Danish Cup twice. Plus, they've held their own in European competitions, whether it's the Conference League, Europa League, or even the Champions League. They've shown they can challenge the big names. It's a club that knows how to develop talent and sell at just the right time. And with Bardghji, they've done it again. But Rooney's story doesn't start in Denmark. Born in Kuwait in 2005 to Syrian refugee parents, his family was just looking for stability. In 2012, when he was just 7 years old, they moved to Sweden. That's where he grew up, both as a person and a footballer. It was during the Audi Cup in Rudeby back in 2017 where he left every scout speechless, single-handedly destroying every team in the youth tournament. Malmö FF became his first big step, and it didn't take long for him to stand out. By 2020, at just 14 years old, he signed with FC Copenhagen after scoring an incredible 15 goals in 10 matches for Malmö's U17 team.
I think this is the first contract.
Yeah, the first one.
Just the first one.
The first one.
There'll be many in the future. If you work hard.
Keep focus. That's so important.
He initially joined FC Talent, Copenhagen's youth academy. It didn't take long for Roony Bardghji to settle into Copenhagen's U19 squad. He was only 15 years old and already dominating as if he'd been playing there for years. He didn't care that some of his opponents were 3 years older than him.
Såklart det är ganska speciellt att man är 15 år som jag är nu och spelar med äldre än dig och det har inte varit något nytt för mig att flytta upp till U19, du vet så här. Som jag är van till det, jag har alltid spelat med äldre. Och jag trivs väldigt bra där och det är den miljön jag vill vara.
His left foot was a lethal weapon, powerful, precise, the kind of strike you don't teach, you're just born with it. But he also knew how to use his right when the play demanded it. And even more impressive, he had a natural, unpredictable, electric dribbling style, the kind of player who doesn't wait for the game to come to him, he goes out and takes control. And behind all of that, there was an obsession, an idol. Roony is a huge fan of Lionel Messi, not a casual admirer. He spends hours watching his highlights, studying every movement and repeating technical gestures over and over again to replicate them on the pitch. He doesn't play like Messi, no one does, but he plays like someone who dreams of catching up to him. That's the real spark, because talent can be a flicker, but obsession turns it into fire. At an age when most kids were thinking about social media or video games, Roony lived and breathed football. He trained, watched matches, took care of his body, and worked on the details. And what was most striking was his maturity, not just on the field, but mentally. A focused, competitive, serious kid, with that rare mix of total concentration and pure joy for the game. Very similar to Lamine Yamal, in fact. Both have something in common. They don't play out of pressure. They play because they enjoy it so much that the world disappears when they step onto the pitch.
Ja, okej. Så sa han bara att jag vill ha dig med i truppen och ja, du har visat att du kan vara med och du har tränat bra. Så rundade han av det hela med att han sa till mig att jag tror du kommer starta också, att du kommer få chansen att starta också. Men så sa han att jag skulle hålla det lite hemligt och inte gå runt och säga till alla.
Som træner sidder man også og tænker lidt på knægten, der er lige fyldt 16, kommer ind i en kamp, hvor der var det 25.000 på lægterne. Hvordan håndterer man det? Så netop derfor tog jeg en snak med ham et par dage før og ligesom byggede det op og fortalte ham faktisk allerede det, at du kommer til at spille. Du er ikke bare med i truppen, du kommer faktisk til at starte inden. Så han ligesom var afklaret med, at han skulle levere det, vi kender fra träningsbanan.
Så klart, jag blev jätteglad. Jag sa till han också Alltså tack.
And then came November 21st, 2021. At just 16 years old, Roony Bardghji made his debut in the Danish Superliga with FC Copenhagen's first team. That day, against Aarhus, he became the youngest player to ever debut in the club's history. But beyond the record, it was what he did on the field that confirmed all the whispers. Roony wasn't just ready, he was destined. He played 65 minutes as a starter, and from his very first touch, he showed that pressure wasn't his enemy. He didn't hide, he didn't pass the ball quickly just to avoid responsibility. On the contrary, he received the ball, took players on, dribbled. He was a constant threat on the right wing, a player demanding the ball like he had played 200 games, not like a 16-year-old making his debut. He was so bold, so authentic. He looked born for the spotlight. In several plays, he weaved through 2 or 3 defenders, cut inside, feinted, shot. He was inches from scoring in his very first match. Only a miraculous sliding tackle from a defender prevented what would have been a dream debut. But he didn't need a goal to prove himself. It was obvious. Roony Bardghji had already crossed the line. He was no longer a youth prospect. He was a professional footballer and a new star beginning to shine across Europe. But it didn't take long for Roony Bardghji to score his first goal as a professional. The next week, he started again against Aalborg, played 80 minutes, and honestly, his first goal was insane. I mean, scoring that kind of goal at just 16 years old. The only one I've seen do something like that is Lamine Yamal. Roony scored 2 goals in his first 7 Danish Superliga matches.
Specielt. Han allerede nu forfærdeligt at have en mod en situation, så jeg kan kun forestille mig, at det bliver værre efter nytår.
Roony's real explosion didn't come right away. During the 2022 to 2023 season, he started getting minutes with the first team. He scored 3 goals and made 1 assist in the Superliga, playing only 600 minutes. He even made his Champions League debut against Sevilla and Borussia Dortmund, no less. The talent was there, but the world hadn't seen it yet. That would change in the 2023 to 2024 season. In the Champions League qualifiers, in the biggest game of the year, Roony stood in front of the penalty spot and chipped it. Yes, at just 18 years old, with the weight of a whole city on his back, he did a Panenka. That goal sent Copenhagen into the Champions League group stage. That was the moment he said, "I've arrived." He went on to score 7 goals in the league, 2 more in the Danish Cup, and even added another one with the reserves. But the night that made the world take notice came at Old Trafford, minute 87. Copenhagen 3, Manchester United 3. The ball bounced loose inside the box. That winning goal in the Champions League made headlines. Roony became the youngest player ever to score against Manchester United at Old Trafford. After that, big clubs started circling. Juventus, Bayer Leverkusen, and even Chelsea scouted him. He was even offered to Real Madrid. But Roony was honest about his dream. "I'm not a Madrid fan, I'm actually a Messi fan. But I want to go where I can achieve my goals, and I think Madrid is the best place for that." But just when everything seemed to be going up, it all came crashing down. During a training session with the first team, Roony tore his ACL. He'd be out for 9 to 12 months. But the drama in Denmark had actually started months earlier. His contract was set to expire in June 2025. The club didn't want to lose him for free, so they tried to extend his deal to later sell him for a big fee. Roony refused. He knew big European clubs were watching, and he didn't want to stay locked down at Copenhagen. The club, frustrated, stopped calling him up to the first team. He was even sent back to the U19s for a few weeks. And then after months of being benched, he finally returned to the senior squad. That's when the injury happened, December 2024. After nearly a year of uncertainty, silence and work behind the scenes, Roony Bardghji stepped back onto a training pitch. The ACL injury had been brutal, but it couldn't break his mindset. While many had already written him off, he simply focused on his recovery. By March 2025, he was finally reintegrated into Copenhagen's first team dynamic. And by then, Barca already had him on their radar, because beyond the physical aspect, Roony had never stopped being a gem. His talent remained untouched. It was only a matter of time and trust before we saw again the fearless winger who tore apart Manchester United at Old Trafford. And that's exactly why FC Barcelona decided to act fast, sign him before his value skyrocketed again. The deal was sealed quietly, with almost no competition, for a symbolic fee, between 2 and 3 million euros. Yes, we're talking about one of Europe's most exciting prospects, for next to nothing. A market opportunity too good to miss. Roony is still just 19 years old. He's already played in the Champions League, scored crucial goals, and trained with elite professionals. The only thing he needed was the right context to grow again. Barca wants to give him that, and Flick already has a plan. In the end, there's nothing to lose. For that price, the gamble is virtually risk-free. But if everything clicks, Barca might have just found its next golden super sub. A left-footed winger with a playing style that might remind fans of Messi. Of course, with all due respect to the GOAT. However, there's one big question no one around the Camp Nou dares to ask aloud. Can Roony Bardghji truly recover his best level after an ACL tear? It's true that medical reports confirm he's at 100% with no lasting physical issues and full response from the knee. But injuries like that don't just tear ligaments, they plant seeds of doubt in a player's mind. In fact, in the few games he played after returning, in the 2024-25 season, he couldn't find the net. He played only 6 matches, but at the same time it's completely normal to struggle at first after an injury like that. Many players need time to regain rhythm and confidence, and there are cases of footballers who come back just as good or even better. Just look at Gavi. After his own ACL injury, he slowly started getting minutes again. While he might not be exactly at the same level as before, he's not far off either. Another similar case is Florian Wirtz. In fact, he has a profile quite like Rooney's. Wirtz is a dynamic, fast, skillful dribbler, and even after his ACL injury, he stayed mentally and physically strong. Not only did he return to his old level, but he also exceeded expectations. Now, I'm not saying it's the exact same situation, but it's clear that players can come back strong after this kind of injury. What really matters is how they approach their recovery and whether they have the patience to go through it properly. And that's something Roony has definitely shown during his road back to the pitch. But still, Roony, despite his strong mindset, is only 19 years old. Will he be the same electric dribbler who froze Old Trafford? Will we see him move with the same confidence, bravery and flair that once defined his game? Barca wants to find out. And Hansi Flick has made it clear he wants Roony to join the first team during the pre-season tour in Asia. No loans, no hiding him in the B team. If Roony is fully fit, he'll be part of this terrifying squad. That said, his role is still undefined. Will he be a super sub, a regular rotation option, direct competition for Lamine Yamal? He's not expected to start, and Roony knows that. But Barca doesn't see him as just a gamble. They see him as a long-term investment. And that's why they gave him a professional contract with a future-focused plan. His style is exactly what Flick wants in that position. A left-footed right winger, dangerous in 1-versus-1 situations, explosive in tight spaces, and smart enough to know when to dribble and when to pass. He's not flashy just for the sake of it. He makes the right decisions. At one point, 7'3" meters tall, Bardghji may not look physically imposing, but he makes up for it with surgical technique and ice-cold composure. His short-distance dribbling is similar to a young Riyad Mahrez, ball glued to his feet and able to shift gears in an instant. His diagonal runs inside are his trademark, but he can also combine through the middle or deliver crosses to the far post. And there's something that's rarely mentioned. He has an excellent set-piece shot, which makes him an offensive threat in almost any game situation. But let's not kid ourselves. As exciting as Roony Bardghji's signing may be, he doesn't have a guaranteed place in Barca's first team. The situation is clear. The attacking line is stacked with talent. The right wing belongs to Lamine Yamal, a generational gem who is only beginning to write his legend. And on the opposite flank, Nico Williams has just arrived, one of the biggest sensations in European football. The competition will be brutal. On top of that, the Danish Superliga doesn't compare in intensity, demands, or tactical level to La Liga. Roony will need to adapt quickly, not just physically, but also to the key elements of Flick's system: high pressing, quick recovery after losing the ball, intelligent positioning, and sharp decision-making under constant pressure. And that's where the real challenge lies, because so far, Roony has shined mostly thanks to his natural talent, not his defensive sacrifice. However, if there's one coach capable of maximising young talent and instilling tactical discipline, it's Hansi Flick. He already proved that at Bayern Munich, where he turned Jamal Musiala into a complete player at just 18. And at Barca, he's already shown he knows how to bring out the best in his players. Rafinha has evolved into an effective attacking midfielder. Fermin Lopez has unlocked his vertical explosiveness. Inigo Martinez has become a defensive pillar. And Lamine Yamal has taken a galactic leap forward. Flick knows how to build. He knows how to shape players. And if Roony commits, if he learns to press, if he absorbs the Germans' ideas, he could become one of the best market moves in recent years. Because we're not talking about a gamble. We're talking about a kid who already has 84 official matches, 15 goals and 1 assist before turning 20. Sure, those numbers may not seem that impressive after everything Lamine has done before turning 18, but Roony's output is far from normal for someone his age. He's only played 1 full season in Denmark's top flight. There's raw talent, there's character, and there's hunger. One of the key reasons behind Roony's signing is that Barca didn't have another player with his style. Aside from Lamine Yamal, the current wingers at Barcelona are mostly explosive types who thrive in open space. Take Rafinha, for example. He's much more comfortable running behind the defense and attacking gaps to get into shooting shooting positions around the box. On the other hand, Nico Williams is an entirely vertical player who constantly looks to beat his marker and reach the byline quickly. He has long strides that allow him to burst past defenders like Rafinha, but unlike Rafinha, Nico also has the dribbling skills and 1v1 ability that Rafinha lacks, which is why Flick has started playing him more centrally. Rooney's signing is important because Lamine is the only true creator among Barca's wingers. He often drops deep to generate passing lanes, while also having the ability to create space on his own. It's not that he's the fastest, it's that he thinks faster than everyone else, which allows him to make quick decisions. And that's exactly how Rooney plays too. Rooney is not a particularly fast player, nor does he possess explosive acceleration that sets him apart physically. What truly makes him stand out on the pitch is his dribbling ability, sharp decision making, and how quickly he executes those decisions. His profile is quite similar to Lamine's, and having someone like him was essential, especially for matches where Lamine needs to rest. This way, the danger down the right flank isn't lost when Yamal is off the field. Rooney is a very smart bet. At 19 years old, if he can prove he's capable of returning to his pre-injury level, he'll no doubt become a key part of Hansi Flick's system this season.